I also put my email contact information if somebody has any questions regarding this, book or anything that I've said during this particular presentation. Now, I come from a training background, so it's very difficult for me not to do a thing like this as kind of like a workshop format. And so as we're going to go through this, I'm going to be asking you questions. We're going to do a breakout room, and hopefully it'll be an interactive kind of an activity. What I want you to think a little bit about is you signed up for this, and I guess I wanted to know a little bit about why. So would anybody willing to unmute yourself and to share with us, why did this topic speak to you? Anybody? Let's see, come on. You all signed up. Why did it speak to you?
Hello,
Okay, good. Rhonda.
Uh-oh.
Rhonda, go ahead.
I'm used to being a person that's going. Sorry for that telephone.
That's no problem. Mine probably will ring too.
That's moving, being social, having fun, being really productive, getting stuff done. And I had to slow up so much during COVID. And then I'm just slow moving, and I feel lazy now to myself. So I've got things on my list that don't matter when they get done, so I'm not doing them.
Okay, so how many of you have felt that? When COVID started, you were really motivated, and you kind of watched yourself going through this curve. Yeah, Olga, how about you? I saw your hand. Did you say you wanted to speak? Unmute yourself. Unmute.
Okay, thank you. Just looking forward to new tips on moving forward, that's all. I'm in a transition, and this COVID is difficult. It's very difficult to go through alone.
Yes. All right. Anyone else? Why did you sign up for this today? Okay, I'm looking. Okay, yes. Go ahead, Annette.
Yeah, hi, Kathleen. Sometimes I feel like I'm procrastinating something that I want to do, and it's just going from day to another week. So I have to just, I guess, take down those barriers and learn how to do that.
Okay,
Hopefully
all right.
I'll learn it here.
So it's interesting because I have to tell you, doing this was basically for myself. I found when COVID started, and I got to tell you, it's been now for me, I've been secluded 5 months, 3 weeks, and 4 days. Not that I'm counting, but every day I say, okay, another day. When this first started, I went, okay, I'm going to get a lot of stuff done. And I was like on fire. I organized, I sorted, I cleaned, I developed a plan. I was on fire. And it lasted probably, I'd say about 2 or 3 months. And all of a sudden one day I hit a wall, and I kind of just lost motivation. I lost the impetus. And so I don't know about you, but I have had so many opportunities online. People say, oh, come to this workshop, come to this, and come to this Moai. I've signed up for so many things. And so I inadvertently signed up for this book discussion where the author of this book was speaking. And a lot of times, like you, I multitask. So I might be listening to her, and then I'm also doing 20 things along with it. And she caught my attention because she started to explain about motivation differently than I'd thought of it before. And also, she gave me a tip, an actual tip that I was able to use to make headway on something that I had been struggling with. And so when I experienced this, I went, I got to share this. And then I didn't know where to share it. So that's why I came up with this idea in the Power 9 group. What was interesting is that not only did she interest me in her book, but because I was on this call, I won the prize and I got the free book. So I got sent to me, where did it go? I got sent to me my own copy. I didn't even have to buy it. So I went, God, this must mean something. I must do something with this. So based upon that, I thought I wanted to share this. And so I want us to start to think about kind of what are some of the things you're saying to yourself. So started out by all the things that we tell ourselves we should do. And so as I go through this little session with you, I want you to be thinking about how you could apply what I'm sharing with you to something you think you should be doing. Okay, so you can kind of put a context to it. And so the first thing we want to be aware of is that we have to understand, what does it mean to be motivated? Okay, so we've heard about this word motivation for a long time. So if you think about what it means to be motivated, I'm going to take a little bit of a risk here. Colleen, what do you think it means to be motivated? You can unmute yourself.
Well, I think it means to be motivated. I think when there are things that we enjoy doing, or that you can see the sink needs to be washed, we do it. But I think just in daily living, it has to be something either that we have an interest in or that is extremely pressing. Otherwise, I'm not sure if we're jumping in and doing things that often.
Okay, all right.
That's just from my perspective. Even though I might have a long list, Kathleen, I'm not jumping in and doing it all.
Okay, all right. Somebody else. What else? Somebody else. How about you, Lauren? You have to motivate a lot of people. What does it mean to be motivated?
I think it's finding the alignment with whatever you're doing that that encourages you or supports you or gets you to commit to doing it. And somebody said it earlier, for me, there's a lot of times, I procrastinate, there's barriers. And so like, what is that? What are those barriers about that supersede, this feeling of motivation and inspiration to get something done? Okay. So for me, it's just about like finding that reason to.
Okay, the reason that's going to cause you to take action. That anybody else want to say what you think what it means to be motivated? Anybody else want to throw in their 2 cents?
To me, it means starting a task and completing it.
Okay, all right. So for you, it's not just a matter of the motivation is to start it, it's to actually finish it. So there's a whole completion there. All right. Yes. So when we talk about motivation, let me share with you her definition. And she says that motivation is the energy to act. Now, I never thought about it before, but it made a lot of sense to me that in order for me to be motivated to do something, it takes energy. Okay. And I think not only does it take physical energy, but it also takes psychic energy and it takes emotional energy. And so if we look at people who are motivated, she says, when I am motivated, I have the energy to achieve what I want to do. So a lot of times there's a lot of theories about motivation. I mean, if you've been in workshops before on motivation, they talk about, well, what gets people motivated is, okay, I'm motivated if you give me a reward. So if you give me a reward, I will do it. Or if you punish me, I will do it. So that's kind of the carrot stick theory. And a lot of people, when they think about motivation, they think about it in terms of self-discipline. So if you say, I want to lose weight, and you're self-disciplined, you will be able to stick with the thing you want to do. Or some people say, well, actually, to be motivated, it just takes willpower. And so these 2 things, self-discipline and willpower, is a lot of the drivers for a lot of us to do things. But in her book, she says, in order to be motivated, you have to move beyond those 2 things of willpower and self-discipline. Okay. Now that was kind of a new concept to me because I pride myself on being very disciplined and having strong willpower. But then how come sometimes I just don't seem to be able to rally either of those 2? And so she came up in her book with what she called 3 scientific truths to master the motivation you need. And this is where I thought there was such a correlation between what she was talking about and everything we're learning in the blue zones. And she said that you need to understand these 3 truths, and you have to apply them when you're trying to motivate yourself to do something or to stick with what you're trying to do. And she says, you have to ask yourself, to what degree does what I'm doing create choice, create connection, and create competence? So those are the 3 main truths. So I'm going to go through them pretty quickly to explain what she means by those 3. And I think as I'm talking, and after I explain all 3 of them, I'll see what kind of questions you might have. Now, when she talks about creating choice, she says, you have to understand, if you want to be motivated, you have to feel that it's something you want to do. So you have to kind of approach motivation from a standpoint that it's not being imposed on you, that it is something that you are saying, not only am I choosing to do this, but I am choosing how I'm going to do this. Okay, so creating choice was the first thing she said you have to have. Secondly, she said, to the degree that what you are trying to do creates connection. Now, this was the one that really spoke to me. She said, it creates connection to the things that you value or the things that you feel are important, or in some way with people that you feel are important. So somehow it's connecting you to something of great, that you have decided has got value and it's got purpose and is meaningful to you, right? And then the third one, which I never ever thought of, is she said this: whenever you're trying to motivate yourself, to what degree do you feel that you have the skill or the ability to accomplish that thing you want to do? And also, do you look at this thing you're trying to motivate yourself to do, providing you an opportunity to provide you with growth or a sense of learning? So again, that creating competence is, I'm trying to exercise more. Do I have the skills? Do I know how to do that? Do I have the ability to learn how to be more effective in doing squats? Do I feel that I will become more competent in my life when I do this? So she said that as you're looking at trying to motivate yourself, you're saying to yourself, are these 3 things something that I'm thinking about when I'm trying to accomplish this goal? And she said, to the degree that whatever you're trying to do has all 3 of those going on, you're going to be more effective and successful in being motivated to accomplish what you want. And so I started to think about this in regards to the blue zones. Now, I belong, I've done over the many years, purpose. Now, how many of you in this presentation today have a purpose statement? Just out of curiosity, just raise your hand if you have a purpose statement. Okay, I see 1 hand, 2 hand. You can put that little reaction button, 3, 4. All right, so some of you have attended the purpose workshops, okay? So you know what your purpose is. Now, here's another question that might be easier for some of you. How many of you know what your values are? If you are trying to do something, motivate yourself to do something, and you can say either you're doing it or you're not doing it, ask yourself, whose choice is this to do this? Because we're going to talk a little bit about what your motivational outlook is can help you be successful or not. But to the degree that it's your choice, you're going to have greater success. Secondly, let's talk about connection. Is this thing you're trying to do connected to your purpose or your values? Now, this was something I never thought of. She says that, oopsie, I dropped my book, hold on. She says motivation is a skill. I never thought of that. I never thought of motivation as a skill. And so when she was saying that, she was saying, okay, if you want to be motivated, you're just going to say, oh, I want to be motivated. You have to actually figure out, well, how do I do that? How do I develop the ability to be skillful in learning how to be motivated? So again, I want you, as I go through this next thing, think of something that you're trying to motivate yourself to do. So, because one of our breakouts, I'm going to ask you to apply what I'm talking about to something that you're working on. So basically, she said that if you're going to get motivated, you have to do 3 key actions, okay? So now I'm not suggesting that you do this in every solitary thing in your life. I'm using the book suggestions to work on 1 or 2 things that I really want to make an improvement in. And one is not eating as much sugar, and doing more healthy exercising. Okay, so those are my 2 things. I'm not using this on everything. So I'm thinking about how do I apply this on those 2 things. So that she says that the first thing you have to realize is that whenever you try to motivate yourself to do something, you have what's called a motivational outlook. So you got to figure out what that motivational outlook is. Then you have to decide, do I need to shift that outlook? And thirdly, if it's not working and you're still not motivated, you got to reflect on what's going on. So those are the 3 actions. So this is the part that I thought was amazing in this book. She talks about 6 motivational outlooks that you have operating within your head when you're trying to do something, okay? Never thought about this before. And this is the chart she uses in her book. Take a moment and just kind of familiarize yourself with this chart. And what she says is that when you are trying to do something, to motivate yourself to do something, you have one or more of these 6 motivational outlooks going on. If you look at the ones that are at the bottom, disinterested, external, and imposed, those are called suboptimal. Those are not going to be very successful to keep you motivated for very long or to even get you started. If you really want to be motivated to accomplish something, you have to have the attitude of the top 3, aligned, integrated, and inherent. Now, they look very complicated, but I know you're going to identify with what they all mean as I explain them. So the first and the lowest motivational outlook you could have, and think about something that you haven't been able to do that you think you should, is disinterested. And disinterested basically is, I don't care. I don't care. I don't want to do this. Also under that one is I'm overwhelmed. There's no way I can take on another thing. I can't do this. So under disinterested, you are you're overwhelmed, you don't care, and you just don't have the energy. And I think in COVID times, some of the reasons why we're not motivated to do something is under here. I'm overwhelmed. Don't add one more thing to what I need to do. Okay, so that would be disinterested. Okay, the next one, external, and I know you'll identify with this one, is you're doing it because someone is asking you to, forcing you to do it, telling you if you don't do it, you're going to get sick, nagging you to do it. So it's you're doing it for an external reason. I'm sorry, excuse me, let me back up because I'm not an expert. I'm sorry, that's imposed. External is I'm doing it for some other reason, i.e., I'm losing weight because I know other people will like me better if I'm thin. External could be I'm doing this because this is what popular people do. I'm not motivated. I go to this event. I don't really want to go, but if I want to be well liked, I have to go. The third one, imposed, is the one I just was saying. That is you are feeling someone's forcing you to do it. You're being nagged to do it. Your doctor saying, if you don't lose weight, you're going to get a heart attack. That's imposed, right? those three, if that is what's causing you to be trying to do whatever you're trying to do, you're not going to be successful. That makes sense? Just nod your head. I can see head noddings. Good. All right. Now, the ones you want to have going on are the ones that are on the top. So the one that says aligned, now this is the one that goes along with the beach cities and the Moais and the purpose. I want to do this because it's in alignment with my values. I want to do this because it's meaningful to me. I want to do this because this is something I am consciously choosing to do because it's what I think is important. That's aligned. Above aligned is integrated. Now, this is a little more complicated. Integrated is, this is how I define who I am. This is part of my purpose. And this is, again, where this is so important to who I am as who I think of myself. And the last one, which I can tell you for many, many people have not a lot of this, is called inherent. And that is, you know what? I do it because it's just fun. I love doing it. So I don't even have to hardly worry about motivating myself because I just love doing it. So these are the 6 motivational outlooks that you can have. And just to refer to them one more time, take a look at the slide. And I want you to think about something that you are attempting to do or want to do and start to ask yourself, where are you coming from a motivational outlook? Disinterested, no value. Overwhelmed, don't want to do it. External, I'm doing this because of other people or other things I'm going to get a reward. Imposed, I feel pressure to do this. Aligned, I agree to do this. It's in alignment with my values. Integrated, I feel that it's part of who I am as a person. And lastly, I just enjoy it. Now I'm going to give you an example of how I applied this to my life so that you can kind of see how it might work. How many of you on this call love candy and ice cream? How many love ice cream? Or you don't, maybe I didn't put your treat. Maybe you like cake, okay? But I love ice cream. That's my biggest reward. I love ice cream and I love M&Ms, okay? All right, so I've been told by people who know that sugar is not good for a person. How many have heard that? Sugar is not good for you. Hands, I've seen some hands, okay. So I decided that I was going to reduce or hopefully eliminate this kind of sugar, okay? So M&Ms, ice cream, whatever. So I set out, like I always do, willpower and self-discipline. I am not going to have ice cream. And you know what? It was killing me. Oh my God, I woke up in the morning saying, when can I have ice cream? When can I have sugar? And I couldn't believe it. It was like the cravings were so powerful. So then I heard about this book. So I said, okay, Kathleen, I talked to myself. How many of you talk to yourselves? I see a lot of smiles, yeah. I said, Kathleen, which one of these is operating for you? So I went through the list and I went, disinterested. No, that's not true. External, let's see, external. Do I not want to eat sugar because of other people's thing? Well, I said there's a little of that going on because if I eat too much sugar, I'm going to gain weight and then I won't be as attractive. So a little of that. Imposed. Oh, there it is. I feel like I'm being forced. I'm being pressured. Somebody's telling me I'm not supposed to do this. I felt like I had to do this. But then I went further up and I realized aligned. Aligned is, what's the value I'm doing this for? And I said to myself, you know what? One of my values is to be healthy. So I decided that actually being healthy was the value that I was going to achieve if I didn't eat that sugar. So I had two going on. I had the pressure and I had the aligned. And so I realized that that's the two outlooks that I was operating under. And so what I knew I needed to do is, from her perspective, is I had to identify that and then say, how could, when I wanted to eat sugar, could I move toward the healthier outlook, which was, wait a minute, Kathleen, you're not being forced to do this. You're doing this because you want to be healthy. And what's interesting is she made a really good point, is that I actually could figure out what your motivational outlook is if I asked you a question. So let's say I said to you, well, what's your goal? And you said, my goal is to lose 15 pounds. Okay. Now, if you say to me, and I said to you, well, why do you want to lose 15 pounds? And you say to me, so I can look good when I go to my reunion, my college reunion. Which outlook is she using here? Just anybody. If I am losing 15 pounds so that I will look good, which of these six is she using?
External.
External. Perfect. You guys are good learners. All right. What if she said, I want to lose 15 pounds. I say, well, why? She says, because my doctor told me that if I don't, I'm going to have a heart attack. What's that? Imposed. Or what if she said, oh, I want to lose 15 pounds because my value is to be, I value health and well-being. What would that be?
Aligned.
That I'm aligned. Now, what if she said, I want to lose 15 pounds because I am a person who is in good shape.
Oh, that's integrated.
That's integrated. See, that's integrated. See, and I don't know anybody that wants to lose 50 pounds because, oh, this is the greatest much fun. I can't believe it. I don't even know, but it could be possible. So you see, just by asking you kind of why you want to do something tells me kind of where you might be as to these different six motivational outlooks. And the trick of it is the first step is saying, okay, what's motivating me to do this? And then to what degree is this my choice? Is this connecting to my values? And do I have the skills and abilities to do it? Thinking about those, then you start to say, okay, that's what I need to keep reminding myself to keep moving forward on this, or I need to shift my motivational outlook. All right. So before I go on, because I'm going to actually have you have an opportunity to actually get in a little breakout room to share with somebody kind of where you see yourself on these different, this whole spectrum. I'd like to just open up and see if there's any questions that anyone has right now before we move forward.
Zolka, Sid.
Yes.
Yeah, it does make sense to me. And I the top, I guess going back where you have your choice and what was the other one?
Choice, connection, and competence.
Connection and competence. The competence one, I know I can do it. It's just the denial that I can do it tomorrow. And so
yes.
I'm fighting over that.
Yes. Yeah. So you see, remember, you know, what we're looking at is that, okay, so remember, if you look at this model, it's saying, okay, what, you know, why am I doing this in the first place, right? Mm-hmm. And then am I coming from a good motivational outlook that's optimal, right? Then when you have the other issue of why am I not starting it, then you have another issue, and that is, what's your motivational outlook about getting started? You're not motivated to get started. See, so it's again, you've identified that what it is you want to do, but your real motivation problem is, why am I not doing it? That's another whole motivational issue. Okay. And why people are procrastinate. We could do a whole session on the reasons why people procrastinate, but one of the main reasons that people procrastinate is it's not that important to them, or they're overwhelmed, or they don't know how to get started. So, you know, again, there's a whole other thing we could talk about on procrastination. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. So this is what we're going to take a look at. And so again, because a lot of times you can hear this, but it really helps to kind of see how people could apply it. So remember that there are the 6 different reasons why you could be motivated to do something, all right? And the first thing is to kind of recognize you may have more than one. So I had 2 of them. I had imposed and I had aligned. And so I had to kind of say, okay, how do I talk to myself to move out of imposed, because that means it's not my control, to align. So that's a shift. We'll talk about that in a bit. But the question is what is motivating you? And then lastly, how can you start to shift? Ruth, this is what I want you to share. Think about something that you are right now, you are not motivated to do, that you really want to be motivated to do, that you could share that. Or you could actually choose something that you are motivated to do and say, I'm motivated to do this, and this is the motivational outlook I've been using. So you can choose something you want to do or something that you are not doing. And what I want you just to share with them is, which of those 6 do you think you're on that's causing you to take that action? Remember, motivation is energy to act, okay? And then talk a little bit about what do you have to do maybe if you have a suboptimal, meaning one of the bottom 3, all right? Now remember, this is Susan Fowler's, this is her book. I mean, these are her ideas. And again, like with anything, you can read it and say, oh, I agree, I just don't agree. But this will give you a chance to kind of see what others are thinking. That I'm giving you the Cliff Notes version of this book. And she's got so many more examples and things to make it real. So I really want to encourage you, if this at all speaks to you, you might want to get her book. But just out of curiosity, I'd love to hear from some of you to see kind of what was going on in the different groups. I know that one group I visited, the issue had to do with procrastination. And when I've done workshops on procrastination, and I can tell you that people procrastinate for many reasons, and probably the top 2 is they don't know how to do it. They don't have the skills to do it. And so that kind of stops them. They're perfectionists. A lot of times people who procrastinate are perfectionists. And the fourth one is they really don't care about it. They think they should. So they're not motivated because the motivational outlook is coming from a lower optimal level. It's coming from either disinterest or from one of those bottom 3. It's not coming from, I want to do this because it's aligned with something that has value to me. So that's why we find that a lot of times procrastination, you have to go back to the why. Why am I doing it? Why am I not doing it? When I started looking at this, I was thinking about my son. I'm trying to motivate my son to eat healthier, to exercise. And it dawned on me one day that, you know what? Maybe the reason he's not doing this is because he feels I am pressuring him. It's not coming from, he hasn't defined it as a value to him. It's mom is saying you should do this. It's not his value. And so until I can help him to look at doing this in terms of a value, he's not going to do it. So it kind of helped me stop nagging him. All right. So you can use this concept with your children and others. Okay. Anyone want to share with me anything that came out of your conversations? Just out of curiosity, feel free to anybody speak. Yes, go ahead. Yes, Colleen.
In our group, and I think maybe many of you feel this way, the stay-at-home order for 6 months has really dampened our desire to go out and do the things that we used to do and participate in, such as exercising or getting together with friends or family. It's like we're kind of in a numb stage. So it's hard to, and we're not really totally out of not staying out of our houses. That's the problem.
Yes.
So it's
yes.
It's kind of, we're in limbo right now.
That's right. That's right.
with this
And-
whole thing. So some of us can exercise at hhome, some really can't.
That's
know?
right. That's
Yeah.
right. And so I think that's where, again, I'm going to share my screen with you because she provides, she talks about, okay, so if you are, let me get my thing here so we can see here. All right. She says that whenever you're trying to figure out why you're not motivated to do something, her thinking is you do two things. You, first of all, you identify, take a minute and think about, well, why am I not doing it? See, again, I think that a lot of times, if you go back to what she said, motivation is a skill. That means that people are not just supposed to be good at being motivated. Okay, you can learn to be better at being motivated if you look at it as a skill, which means that if I want to develop a skill, I have to think, I have to reflect a little bit. So if something is really bugging you and you really say, I'm annoyed with myself, I'm not doing it, instead of staying stuck like that, see if you can identify what the motivational outlook is. And then ask yourself, is there any way that I can shift it? If I can't shift it for whatever the reason, then you just have to say, okay, then I have to then reflect on what's going on, because these are the 6 motivational outlooks. And if you don't like what's going on mentally, then you have to think about shifting it. So, if somebody says I should be doing a new trust, which is funny because I just called the trust guide today because that came up in my list. I should renew my trust. Well, I have been thinking about that for a long time. And it was only when I started to go, well, wait a minute, part of my value is to make sure that I'm a financially responsible person so that when I die, then I'm not leaving my children with a big mess. So no, I don't particularly like doing this, but my motivation for doing it is not for me. It's because I value the connection with my children. See, so that's what's going to motivate me. I'm going to override my inertia. So learning how to think about where you are is important. And again, I'm a big believer that we don't want to keep beating ourselves up. All right. So if you are not doing something that you think you should be doing, instead of beating yourself up every day, ask yourself these questions. Why am I making the choices I am making? Or why am I not making the choice? You are choosing to do something or not do something. So the question, and she puts this in her book, is ask yourself, if you're not doing it, why not? And there might be a very good reason for not doing it. But I think the real clincher is this. Why is this thing meaningful to me? You're not going to be motivated to do something if it doesn't have meaning to you. It's got to have meaning to you. It has to be aligned with your values and your sense of connection to your values, your connection to things that are important to you, and that you feel that you are choosing. See, and that, I think a lot of times we hate to admit that I choose to be unhealthy. I choose to whatever. So again, don't leave yourself beating yourself up, but just reflect and figure out why you're not doing it and say, okay, that's why. So maybe when COVID ends, I'll go back and take a look at it. And so I think somebody said earlier in this presentation that to them, motivation isn't just starting something, it's actually completing it. And so what I'd like to just ask, and if you could put in the chat box so I can kind of see what you think, or you can just speak out. If you start to do something, let's say we've decided to do something, what do you do to stay motivated? When you feel like quitting, what do you do? So I'd like to see some people in the chat box give us some suggestions, some thoughts on what do you do when you feel like quitting?
Kathleen, can I make
Yes,
a comment as you're
sure,
looking at
yes.
it? One thing I think that may need to be mentioned too, I guess when I think about myself, reason for procrastination is because I'm fearful of the outcome because it's unknown, right? I feel like at times that is what stops me, that I'm not, I think that I may not feel comfortable, even though that is what I want to do.
Okay.
But it may just make me uncomfortable. And that's what I think that fear stops me from moving forward.
That's, yes, yeah, yeah. So being aware of that, isn't it, is an important part, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, so then the question is, how do you overcome the fear?
Right, right.
You know?
Right.
You know, and again, it's but even just knowing that is a starter point. Just even knowing that. All right, so let's see what we got in the chat box. Okay, let's see, got some chats here. What do we do to keep ourselves motivated? Okay, let's see, we go. All right, so if some of you could take a look at the chat box. I just love this. Okay. We have find a buddy, go back to my original reason. Yeah, see, it's again, we have to sometimes remember why we decided to do it in the first place. Okay, prayer for some people. Okay, what do I want to do? Is Lauren asked, is procrastination the opposite of motivation? I don't know that it's the opposite. I think it's a reason why people don't oftentimes do what they want to do, but I think sometimes I may not be motivated, and it's not because I'm putting it off, it's because this thing really doesn't have value to me. Okay. Yes, yes. Okay, love what you guys are saying in the chat box. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So again, we have only touched the surface of this book. Like I said, for me, it was helpful because, like I said, the sugar thing has always been a struggle for me, and it's not like I've reached perfection. But now, when I have that inkling, I'm going to go. I want sugar. I go, okay. Before I do it, it's that moment before you act. You go, okay, wait a minute. I want to be healthier. You know, I want to be healthier. It's not being forced on me. Okay. So I basically have to talk to myself to continually remind myself that when I'm not motivated, how to stay motivated. Right. So I'd just like to see if there's any last minute questions that anyone has, just to see. I hope that some of you got some tips or some ideas from her book, Susan Fowler's book. And if not, at least maybe the next time you say you want to do something and you're not doing it, you might ask yourself a little bit more, okay, to stay with it. And ask yourself, why am I doing this? Why is it meaningful to you? If you are like struggling with not being motivated to do something, and you want somebody to talk you through it, the questions, please contact me. I'd love to challenge your reasons for why you're not doing what you want to do. And I guarantee you, at the end of it, you may discover, you know what? I didn't want to do it in the first place.